Well, let's make a fall scene, and I'm going to use some of the techniques that I used in the book Picture a Tree. And I think our fall day is going to be a windy fall day. We're going to have a lot of sky in this picture, so I think the whole board will be covered with blue. It's nice to start with a fairly small picture. You can just play around with it and experiment with the techniques, and you don't have to worry about creating a giant scene. So these little pictures are just like sketches. If it was a windy day, one way to show that would be with some clouds that are blowing. So I'll start with some white plasticine. Just press it on the board and then smear it. And let's make one little cloud that's a bit smaller. Now in the fall the weather is exciting and it changes, so let's pretend that they could be a little bit of a storm cloud. And the bottom of my cloud is going to be heavy with rain, and it's going to be purple. Now we'll make the subject of our picture, which is going to be this pine tree. And I'll roll out a fairly thick piece of plasticine. Of course, the tree starts out thick at the bottom and gets skinnier on the way up. And just to make it a bit fatter, I'm going to use a roller. And I'm pressing it onto the board. The top of the pine tree, though, it's been affected by the wind as it grows, so let's add on the top there, and it's a little bit bent. We can add just a few branches. It's a scraggly old pine. And pine tree branches are always longer at the bottom than the top. That's why you get that nice shape of a pine tree. One more that tried to grow out the side. Now it still needs some needles, but let's add some texture to the bark first. Let's take one of those long pieces and just stick it all the way along the trunk so that we have some ridges and things happening. And now that those lines are in the trunk, I'm just going to mess with them even a little bit more and just make some long scratches in the trunk. And now it's starting to really look like a gnarly old pine tree. I'm going to pick a dark green for the needles. So I'm taking sort of, it's like little worms of plasticine, giving them a little bit of an upward smiley shape, and just putting a few clumps. Usually it's bushier and thicker at the top because they're new. And to finish it off, let's use a sharp pencil and give some texture to these needles. And it's just an impression of the way these needles are blowing in the wind. So we can just scratch it, and always telling the story, so they're pulling in the direction of the winds. What you might have also would be a couple of birds flying, because they really enjoy the wind too. So just as an added piece, let's just add a couple of birds in the sky to show us that it's a very windy day. So there we have a nice lonesome pine with the west wind blowing. And as usual, it's always important to sign your work.